Hi there, I'm Adrian, and welcome back to UCL This Week. You love to see it make a return, and we have some decent matches to look back on. We do this every week, by the way, as well as a weekend recap every weekend, and all sorts of explainers, bios, etc. So if you want in on that, be sure to subscribe to join our growing community, and join us for a watch-along sometime. It's always good fun. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to it. Oh, and don't mind the wardrobe change. It's just time travel. Nothing special. Here we go, starting off sounding like Fabrizio Romano. But hey, starting with Group A, Red Bull Salzburg and Lokomotiv Moskva, and it was the Russians who opened the scoring via who else? Ader, the God, a massive header, his first ever in the Champions League. But who needs Champions League goals when you have scored the game-winning goal in a European Championship final for your country? Am I right? Anyway, Salzburg largely dominated this match, and they got the goal they deserved in the 45th minute when the highly sought-after and highly hyped Dominik Szoboszlai scored my favorite kind of goal. Bar down, absolute peach from just outside the box, and on the other side of the half, Salzburg took the lead from a deflected Zlatko Junuzovic strike. They should have doubled their lead if not for the post, and given that football is a cruel, cruel mistress, Lokomotiv scored with their first shot of the second half. First and only shot of the second half. 2-2 in Salzburg. And then we had Bayern taking on Atletico Madrid, and it was a night to forget for Atletico Madrid. It started fairly evenly, but the longer this match went on, the more control Bayern took of it, barring, the first bit of the second half when Atletico were able to make some plays of their own. Kingsley Coman, last season's finals hero, scored the opener as Kimmich pinned a perfect ball across the box to find Coman all alone to slot past Oblak. Then a few minutes before the half was up, Coman turned provider for Goretzka to lash one past Oblak, 2-0. João Felix did score, but given his teammate was standing in an offside position, it was called back, and rightfully so, though unfortunately so for Atletico. And from there, Bayern just grabbed this game by the neck again. Tolisso scoring probably the goal of the evening with his smash from distance, then Muller setting up Coman again for 4-0. And I mentioned this in the stream, but is there a team with a better stock of wingers at the moment than Bayern? Gnabry, Sané, and Coman, plus you have Douglas Costa on the bench, and of course, Alphonso Davies, who started his career as a winger. Not bad. Atletico looked pretty dead. It sort of feels like football has evolved faster than Simeone has evolved as a manager, but like I said in a video last year, they owe it to him to see out his contract, but man, I think the club could benefit from a change of ideas, but it's still early, I guess, We'll see how it all pans out. It's early in Europe and it's early domestically, so a lot could happen between now and May. Real Madrid welcomed Shakhtar Donetsk to Valdebebas to the Alfredo Di Stefano Stadium, and Shakhtar, despite missing some key players themselves, just as Madrid are, destroyed Real Madrid in the first half. I mean, the way that Real Madrid defenders were playing, it was blatantly obvious that Ferland Mendy was uncomfortable down the right side, as he is not a very two-footed player. Marcelo has been hit or miss for a while now, but he improved in the second half, to be fair to him. Rafael Varane has a howler in him now and then, as he's shown in the Champions League. Eder Militão was sleepwalking at certain points. Not inspiring stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that Shakhtar only won. Oh yeah, they won 3-2 by the way. That's not to say that they only won because Real Madrid were bad, because that's very unfair to them. Shakhtar's attacking in transition was extremely enjoyable to watch, and they truly deserve to be 3-0 up at the half. A good response from Real to pull 2 back, but the damage was done at that point. And unlucky that Vinicius was yet another Real Madrid player that was suffering from narcolepsy at the end of the match, as he just stood right in front of Shakhtar's keeper, thus cancelling Valverde's equalizer. A big response is expected and is quite frankly needed from Real Madrid. Loss at home against Cadiz in La Liga, followed up with a loss at home against Shakhtar. Not great. And they play Barcelona next. Inter Milan versus Borussia Mönchengladbach felt like a very Inter Milan performance, if you know what I mean. Plenty of possession, plenty of shots launched towards goal, but nobody's besides Lukaku really looking like they'll have any sort of impact on the match, at least on the score sheet. That said, credit needs to be given to Gladbach as they defended well, got in the way of strikes, they're blocking everything, but Lukaku, he scored the opener for Inter in the 49th minute. You guys know that I'm not a huge fan of Lautaro Martinez, but he did well to head the ball across goal instead of on goal from that position, because it would have been a wasted opportunity, and the header across goal led to Lukaku's scrambly goal. There was definitely some clumsy defending from Vidal to concede a penalty for Gladbach to level things. Then the nightmare began for him as Hoffmann put Gladbach ahead. That came after a flutter of decent opportunities for Inter, including a sick attempt from Lautaro that went off at the post. But anyways, back to the goal that Gladbach scored. Vidal was at fault for this one, I thought, as he lost track of Hoffmann, and my boy did well to meg Handanovic. But in the dying moments, Lukaku saved them their blushes. He tucked away a cross that made it through everyone. 2-2. Kolarov came close with a free kick at the end, but classic Inter. Capable of so much better, but just not quite there. Yet. Olympiacos got their Group C campaign started right as they hosted Marseille in a match that really could have gone either way. Honestly, Marseille had the better of the chances, I thought, and will be disappointed to come away from that match with nothing, let alone 3 points given the chances they had in the first half alone. But hey, tons of credit needs to be given to Olympiacos. They've shown time and time again in Europe that they can do a job. I'm talking to you, Arsenal. And they certainly performed well in this one, pretty much across the park. Their first half was forgettable, but Pedro Martins, their manager, got it right in the second half. They finally scored in the 91st minute. Can't say they didn't deserve it, given that tight offside goal that caused one of their goals earlier in the half to be called back. 1-0 the final. Let's go, Olympiacos. Stir some shit up in this group. Going to be a very competitive group, I think. Ruben Dias, he certainly looked lost in giving the ball away for Porto's opener. That said, the rest of his game was okay. And to be fair, Luis Diaz still had a ton of work to do before scoring that play. A great solo run where he ran past the entirety of City's defense and then smashed it past Ederson. But just 6 minutes after scoring, City were awarded a penalty, and it was very strange. First, you had Gundogan stepping on Marchesin's leg, and then Pepe being Pepe and clumsily running straight into Raheem Sterling, who he later in the match, again, fouled and then sort of kneed him in the side. He's being a nasty dude. I like him for Portugal because he doesn't pull that kind of shit, but man, he was showing shades of classic Pepe in his match. Classic Pepe who kicks players while they're down. So yeah, anyways, the optics of this penalty were extremely strange, seeing as it looks like a stamp from Gundogan, even though Marchesin slid right under his foot. Not much Gundogan could have done as he was just, mid-stride. And then Pepe gets a little clumsy. Where do you go with this? I mean, whether Gundogan meant it or not, which he clearly didn't in my opinion, he endangered an opponent. A foul, and at most a yellow for Gundogan, and no penalty for City. That should have been the outcome in my opinion, because if Marchesin did that to an outfield player, foul all day long. So why not the other way around, Like, I just cannot fathom how, whether accidentally or not, if I put my studs on the shin of an opponent and it isn't a foul, like, am I crazy? It's a big no-no. It's a whistle right away. Anyway, Porto weren't that bad in this match. They provided very little going forward, but they weren't too bad, in my opinion. Gundogan scored a beautiful free kick to put City up 2-1 as City dominated the second half. And Ferran Torres with a beauty just 5 minutes after coming onto the pitch. 3-1 City. The penalty was weird and undeserved, in my opinion, but that said, based on the rest of the match, they deserve to win. But maybe that penalty, had it not been given, maybe it would have been a different outcome. We'll never know. Group D, Liverpool and their lack of central defenders went away to Amsterdam to take on Ajax, and they just edged the Dutch side. Fabinho looked great as a central defender, notably clearing one off of the line, and speaking of which, as is the custom here at Rabona TV, we are allowed to point out when people do poorly, but we have to follow that up and do the other side of things with praise when they do well. And Adrian, in goal for Liverpool, made a great couple of saves. A good performance from him overall. Ajax will be a little bit upset following this match, given, the saves from Adrian and the clearance off of the line for Fabinho, which robbed them of at least a point in this match. Harsh, considering how Liverpool scored with a very unfortunate own goal from Nicolas Tagliafico. Klaassen had a great strike that rattled off of the post. It was a close match, but 1-0 the final for Liverpool, getting the win away to Amsterdam. Great result. Atalanta went away to Midtjylland, one of the debutants in this competition, and come on, man, of course they won, and of course it was comfortable for them. But hey, don't you disrespect Midtjylland, man. They didn't just lay down for Atalanta, even though Atalanta easily could have scored, 5 or 6 by my count. But that's just off of the quality of Atalanta. It took a while, and by a while I mean 26 minutes, but once Atalanta got a taste for the goals in the 26th minute, Zapata with the opener by the way, then the goals just came thick and fast in that first half. Papu Gomez doubled the lead in the 36th minute, just minutes before Midtjylland nearly equalized. But man, Papu, the king of Bergamo, what a strike, a smash. Then Muriel made it 3 before the half was up. Midtjylland certainly improved in the second half, but Ilicic and Miranchuk combined for a fourth. A debut goal for Miranchuk. That was his first appearance for Atalanta, and what a beautiful goal it was, curling it around the keeper and just inside the post. 4-0 for Atalanta. That's a good way to start their Champions League campaign, considering I think they lost 4-0 in their first match of the Champions League last season. Okay, back to Fiorentina Adrian. Potentially great match to look forward to in Sevilla taking on Chelsea, the last two Europa League winners facing off, but I'd say it largely failed to live up to expectations. Mendy made a decent save in the 18th minute from a deflected header, Werner forced an okay save out of Bono at one point, Ocampos had a chance that Mendy dealt with. I mean, Sevilla came closest for much of the match, but there really isn't much to talk about here. 0-0 the final, 2 clean sheets in 2 matches for Mendy and Chelsea's goal. Didn't offer much going forward, but at least they didn't concede either. In the other match, Stade Rennais, Mendy's former team, and Krasnodar made their debuts in the Champions League, and I think Stade Rennais will be frustrated that this debut match didn't end in a debut victory for them. Oh, and by the way, this was one of the matches that had a crowd in it, at least a partial crowd, and my god, it was so refreshing to hear fans in the stands. Actual fans, not those loops. While Rennais were certainly the most forward-thinking team in this match and dominated the ball, Krasnodar showed that they can be very dangerous, as Marcus Berg nearly scored, but for a fantastic last-ditch clearance by Damien Da Silva off of the line. It was Damien Da Silva / Gomez that saved it. In the second half, the hosts got the breakthrough via a penalty, a deserved goal given their onslaught of the Krasnodar box, but they conceded just 3 minutes after that. So frustrating for them. And what a goal it was from Christian Ramirez for Krasnodar. Left-footed slap from just outside the 18. 1-1 the final there, despite Rennais coming very close a couple of times in stoppage time. Over in Group F, one of the early matches saw Club Brugge go to St. Petersburg to take on Zenit in what was actually a pretty open and entertaining match. Towards the end of the first half, things started to heat up for what was a very enjoyable second half. The Club Brugge and FIFA career mode legend that is Emmanuel Dennis, if you know, you know, opened the scoring in the 63rd minute, a very, very sloppy goal that Zenit nearly managed to keep out. Zenit really came into the game following the goal that they conceded and should have leveled in the 70th, but they found their equalizer via the greatest defender in the world, Dejan Lovren. His absolute bomb from midfield swerved viciously off of the post and then off of the back of American keeper Ethan Horvath and in. Unlucky for Horvath, as he made a few fantastic saves in this one that really kept Club Brugge ahead or even in the match. But the visiting Belgian scored a beautifully worked goal in the 93rd minute with just a minute of stoppage time remaining. Vormer setting up 19-year-old Charles de Ketelaere. 2-1 Club Brugge. The other match in Group F was no doubt the more attractive fixture, as we saw Ciro Immobile welcome his former squad, Borussia Dortmund. And as is the worry with this Dortmund team, it was their defense that let them down, which normally you could partially forgive them for when there's a killer like Immobile on the pitch, but given the record of shoddy defending, you can't help but worry. So for the first goal, Dortmund were trying to play it out of the back, and the Lazio press was extremely high. Smart by them, knowing that Dortmund's defense is shaky. Correa seized upon it, squared to Immobile, and his dinked finish was excellent. 1-0. Almost 20 minutes later, and Inzaghi's boys scored from a corner kick. Luis Alberto, the in-swinger to Luis Felipe. His header was towards goal, not directly to goal. It would have gone wide, but it deflected off of Marvin Hitz and in. 2-0 after just 23 minutes. Dortmund had some real genuine chances to pull one back in the first half and early in the second, if not for Strakosha, but they didn't get one until the 71st when who else but Reina and Haaland linked up. Great vision from Reina, as expected. Stunning finish from Haaland, as expected. But Immobile was a thorn in the side of his former team, and he cut back to Akpro to make it 3-1, just 9 minutes after the former had come on for his UCL debut. Shout out to him. Dortmund with further chances. Good saves from Strakosha on Haaland. 3-1 Lazio. Very good result for the Roman side. Juve went away to Dynamo Kiev to open things up in Group G, and they got a relatively comfortable 2-0 win. Comfortable considering they are still missing 2 key players in Ronaldo and Weston McKennie. He's been good in the midfield when he's featured. But man, Alvaro Morata has seemingly found the magic again at Juve. At least he's been in very promising form lately. We'll see if he can continue, but it's looking good. I want to believe in him. Trust me, I do. But it's tough. Kulusevski and Ramsey combined for the closest opportunity that Juve had in the first half, but just after the restart, Ramsey and Kulusevski combined once again, and the latter strike led to a massive rebound for Morata to turn in the 84th. Cuadrado, who I thought had a brilliant match for Juve, found Morata in the box, and Morata is one of the best at heading, and he made no mistake. 2-0, job done. Juve looked like Shakhtar. Over to you, Barcelona, who are actually playing at home against Hungarian champions Ferencvárosi, and they didn't really have any problems with them. As expected, right? The lineup that we saw from Koeman was interesting, a variation of a 4-2-3-1. Messi as the striker / false 9, Trincão and Fati on the wings, Coutinho tucked behind Messi. This is the lineup I was hoping to see, and they looked good going forward. A bit of a slow start for Barca, but Messi with a goal and an assist, Fati with a goal and an assist, Coutinho scores, Pedri continues to impress, he scored as well, and perhaps the most welcomed sight of all, Dembele coming on in the second half to play down the right and getting a goal and an assist in an impressive performance from him. Great stuff if you're a Barcelona fan. So here's hoping that Dembele has an extended stay in the first team and he stays healthy, as he seems to be motivated now. But man, you can't help but feel like this formation could be the way forward for Barcelona, maybe with Trincão on the bench and Dembele starting, and you can't help but wonder if Griezmann will be there next season if Coutinho continues to play well. There were some defensive lapses from Barcelona, but overall, it's the kind of game that you expected them to win, and 5-1, you can't have any complaints. And finally, Group H saw RB Leipzig host Istanbul Başakşehir as the German side looked to continue their good run in the Champions League, a run that saw them make the semi-finals last season before losing out to PSG, whom they, of course, will have an opportunity to get some revenge upon them. Leipzig have looked... well, they haven't looked as good as last season, but as I said in the weekend recap, if the new personnel falls into place for them, Hwang Hee-chan, etc., Sorloth, they'll look very good. On this occasion, Nagelsmann played Angelino as a left winger. Man, did he ever look good out there. A brace in the first 20 minutes of football for him, assisted by Campbell. And the assist, Don, that is Christopher Nkunku. The first goal from Angelino, I mean, guy looked like an informed striker, the way he cushioned that ball down perfectly, swiveled, and knocked it past the keeper. And the second, no less impressive, as his first time finish left Gunok no chance in goal. And he almost scored a third after that, with the first time volley that just swerved on the wrong side of the post. And while Leipzig was a little less impressive in the second half, there weren't too many dangerous opportunities for Başakşehir, who of course were making their debut in the Champions League, so congrats to them. Unfortunate about the result, as it was a 2-0 win for Leipzig, and Angelino has scored in 3 consecutive matches now. Man, what a signing he's looking to be, an unexpected good signing for them from City. And finally, we have Manchester United taking on PSG, one of the matches we did a watch-along for, and from the outset, looking at United's lineup, it seemed like it would be a very, very boring match, as Ole went with 5 defenders, 5 at the back, plus 2 midfield pivots in McTominay and Fred, meaning much of the attacking burden would come down to just 3 guys, Bruno, Martial, and Rashford, though Alex Telles and Wan-Bissaka would join in as well in the attack. So the game plan was clear for United. Defend deep with a very low block to make it near impossible for Mbappe, Neymar, and Di Maria to find any space to run or pass through, then hit PSG on the counter, and it worked. Ole nailed it. United found the lead thanks to a retaken penalty from Bruno Fernandes. Who else, of course? Navas saved the first, but was a few inches off of the line, so it was retaken. Unfortunate for him. I'm partial to VAR not intervening in these occasions and forcing the linesmen, more often than not absolutely useless when it comes to penalties, to actually do their job and make sure that the keeper doesn't come off of the line. But overall, I'm fine with this call, as he was indeed off of the line, so you can't really have many complaints there. And the penalty itself, no question, blatant penalty. But yeah, PSG really struggled in the attack. I can't think of too many moments where Neymar and Mbappe were really able to impose themselves on this game. They were better in the second half, but only for about 20 to 25 minutes. United defended well as a unit. De Gea had a great couple of saves himself, and individually, I think that Aaron Wan-Bissaka was probably the best player on the pitch for United. This United side who was rewarded for their efforts when Marcus Rashford banged one in off of the post right at the death. 2-1 to United, and to think, they could have won this match by far more than just 2-1. There were a couple of occasions when Bruno and Rashford chose to pass when they should be shooting. I mean, it's funny, Bruno will slap a strike towards goal from 30 yards out when he should be passing to someone probably in a wide position, but he'll choose to pass when he's near goal when he should be shooting. Solid win, solid way to get the campaign started, and perhaps that's what United needed to get out of this mini rut that they have been in lately. And that's it for this edition of the UCL this week. I thank you guys for watching this video. That should be all you need to know from the Champions League this week. If you liked the video, then consider making that actionable by liking the video for me. And we'll hopefully see you in the next one. I'm Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and I love ya. Ciao!